Howdy YouTube, and welcome to this episode of the Gunman. So this video here is in response to a question that I got from a subscriber. Now he's moving over to Standoblue soon, and his paint rep told him that you can't spray Standoblue with the Iwata Supernova LS400, which I'm here to tell you is a load of BS, and you absolutely can. So it's a little bit disappointing that you've got paint reps who are employed to know these things that obviously don't, or do know, and are intentionally misleading you to make certain spray guns sell more, or whatever ulterior motives they have behind that. But as I say, if you don't know, well then don't tell people, and if you do know, you should know that you can spray it, because I can tell you now, this video is going to be dedicated to, what can you spray, what kind of guns can you use to spray Standoblue. Now I've just switched over to Standoblue from Standock Solvent just a couple of months ago, and whilst I haven't used every single one of my guns to spray Standoblue with, every single one of my guns I have used to spray it with definitely sprays it, and is more than capable of spraying it. Now the funny thing is, like, when I was coming to the last sort of year of spraying solvent, I would swear by the DV1 base coat gun. And it's one of those things that, like, before going to this water-based system, I would have justified, like, the purchase of a DV1 over a Pro Light or something like that, because the extra cost, you sort of do get that little bit better quality, build quality of the DV1. I do believe that they are made a little bit better, right? And also I found that they sprayed a little bit better. Just a nice, wide, even fan, even distribution of the metallics, and for whatever reason, it was just effortless to spray the metallics down. And I started off spraying this Standoblue with the DV1, and I can't fault it, don't get me wrong, but basically the difference is not as big, I must say, spraying Standoblue. I just find this stuff is very simple to spray as long as you know how to spray it. It's got much less to do with the spray gun than the application method. So the key to spraying Standoblue is basically just keeping it wet. So make sure that you get that second coat on nice and wet. So you got to hold that gun right back, and then just a nice tight overlap. It's a weird thing to get your head around when you're first doing it. So you watch this second coat. This is my second coat that I'm spraying as we speak now. So I'm going really slow, holding that gun back a bit, and just watching it drop on. It takes a bit of trial and error, but once you get your head around it, and once you just keep bombing into your head, hold it back and go slow, you'll be fine, totally fine. And yeah, look, and with blends, it's one of those things that you've just got to have blind faith in a way. Now that looks pretty average, like that fender right there, as it sits right now when it's wet, it looks pretty damn average. But you've really just got to have faith in your methods, and it will dry down fine. As long as that color's good and you've blended it out nicely, it will look good once it's dry. So there's another thing that I'll actually be including a little bit of footage of some spray outs later on in this video if you hang around. It's another pretty important thing, and I know not everyone's going to understand it or even gain anything from it, but I know there are some people in my situation, or in this guy's situation, have just switched over to Standoblue, and one or two little hints or tips can make a big difference in them adapting and making this system work for them. Or they could just throw their hands up in the air and say, hey, it's all too much, I hate this stuff, which is really not what you want happening. As my paint rep says, he goes, nothing wrong with stubbing your toe, but you don't want to keep stubbing the same toe again and again and again. Like, make a mistake, but don't keep making the same mistake, basically. So as far as the settings go on the Supernova, so obviously this is the LS, if you did miss that. So the LS is the NTEC, so the HVLP spray gun, so it's the one that you would get for base coat if you have a Supernova, or if you wanted a Supernova base coat gun. I've actually heard some people say that the WS, which is usually the clear coat gun, is really good for this stuff. So I haven't tried it yet. I haven't wanted to put any base coat through my nice Supernova yet, but maybe we will. Maybe we'll get there one day. We'll see how we go. But yeah, so settings are 1 3/4 turns out on the fan. So you wind that fan right in, so it's on pencil or spot. and then you come out 1 3/4 full turns, or 1 3/4 2 full turns on the fan, and full fluid. So what I like to do on the fluid control is to wind it out, so have it so it's about to drop out, then pull the trigger in so it's fully depressed, and then start winding that fluid knob in until you start feeling it want to push your fingers forward, and then you stop, so that it's not sitting right out at the back and not prone to falling off as you're spraying or as you're cleaning or anything like that. I actually had that happen when I was cleaning my gun once, and it popped out, the spring popped the back of the thing out, and I was lucky to find it. So ever since I did that, I've made sure I've still had that same full fluid setting, but had it wound right in so it's just on full fluid, if you know what I mean. So yeah, hey, that's another thing that it might help one person out there. It might help someone not lose a part of their spray gun, and I hope it does. And as far as the pressure goes, I've found that you're pretty safe anywhere from sort of 20 to 30 psi, which is around 1.5 bar to 2 bar, thereabouts. So you know, you can drop it down if you want on your blends. I've found you probably don't want to go much below 1.3 bar at the base of the gun. Previously, when I was using this system, I probably spent too much time listening to the paint reps, and they might have been leading me down the garden path on a few subjects, like air pressure settings. I was doing exactly what they said, and they said spray them all at 2 bar or nothing, 2 bar or nothing. And then now I find out that you don't need to, and the only reason they said to do that was for replication of the color chips, and back then we weren't even using the color chips, so we were color matching anyway. But I found myself this time actually using those color chips a lot more, and I found them replicating quite well. So as I say, this time now they say you can go anywhere from 1.3 to 2 bars, so they're even the reps, I guess they've probably learnt a few new things themselves. But yeah, I don't know, I didn't like this system as much last time. I think this time I'm appreciating it a little bit more and unlocking more of its hidden potentials that I was either unaware of or just didn't know back then. So I think I was probably placing more importance on the spray gun back then too. More than what was really necessary. It's, as I say, this time I know that it's more about how you spray it than the spray gun. So as you can see here, that's drying down relatively fast. So it is a pretty warm day, as you like, we're pretty much in the middle of our summer. So yeah, the other thing to keep in mind is this stuff will look terrible as it's drying. So don't panic if it starts drying, it looks all patchy and mottly. Start worrying if it is dry and it looks terrible. Yeah, sure. And the next thing that you can do, if you get to this stage where it's fully dry and it looks terrible, you can go and mix in some base coat blender, some slow base coat blender, 50-50 mix with the color, and then you can drop that pressure right down and go over that blend again. But as I say, I've found you best off really getting it right the first time. I had a few mistakes happen in the past where I got the blend not quite 100% and then actually made it look worse by trying to chase that color down the panel with that 50-50 blender mix. And I reckon 99% of the issues I ever had with this system and silvers all came from the color matching cards. Now I would spray the color out on these color matching cards were actually a different color than the primer that we were using. So basically this system does cover pretty well, right? Now when you're putting base coat blender in with the color, you're diluting it. Now by default, these colors give you, I think it's around 10% base coat blender. They put it in there to help you blend your color out. Now look at that. You can see on the right is the color card that they give me, and on the left is the shade of my primer. So my primer is darker, so if I go and spray my color out over their color cards, it's going to make me think that the color's lighter than what it is. So I'm going to go and put black in it. I'm going to say, hey, that color's too light, I need to put black in it. But the color isn't too light, it's the primer underneath. So you're basically tricked into thinking that the color is covered over your color card, but then when you go and put over a slightly different shade of primer, it's going to darken it up. And then when you try to blend it, your color's too dark, so you'll see this big dark patch on your blend, and that's what was happening. And it took me a little bit to figure it out, and honestly I think it's a pretty big oversight from the paint company and the distributors and the manufacturers. Everyone involved, they should know this. The paint reps should know it, and they should be warning painters. They should be putting the memo out. They should be changing those the shade of those color cards, because the silvers do not cover as well as you would hope. Trust me, they don't. It's the damn truth. And look, at the end of the day, it's not about saying I hate them, I hate the paint system or anything like that. It's more about, hey, this is an issue, this is the way around it. If you know you've got a slight issue there, you can figure out the way to get around that issue. But if you don't know it's there, then you're going to have a problem further down the line, and as I say, that problem is going to be your blends. And I used to have a nightmare trying to blend silvers, but it was all stemming back to the fact that it didn't cover as well as you thought it did. And for me, like, because all the other colors cover so well, it kind of catches you off guard. Like, it's not one of those things that's forefront of your mind, oh, it's not covered, because you've sprayed all these different colors and they cover in like 1.5 coats, so you'd think, oh, it's not going to be a coverage issue. Am I blending it wrong? Is it the blender? I was sure, like, for a certain amount of time, I was sure that it was because the blender was staying light, because my blend was going dark. I thought, well, this blender stays a little bit milky and white, because it does go on looking milky and white. So that's sort of like the lines of thought that I was going along. But as it turns out, it was just a coverage issue. So I did get a little bit off track. This video was meant to be about how to use a Supernova and what guns you can use to spray this system. But yeah, basically this is a FLG5 and I totally love this gun. Channel favorite, Standoblue with FLG5. No worries at all, mate. $200 spray gun, that's Australian dollars. Eating it up, man, eating it up. I'd like to say a big thanks to everyone for watching, and if you'd like to support the channel further, you're more than welcome to go over and check out some of the merchandise we've got. My personal favorite is those spray suits, so they're a good quality Colad branded spray suit with the Gunman logo on it. There's also hats, drink coolers, hoodies and t-shirts, so be sure to go over and check out the link in the description if you are interested. All that aside, I'd just like to say a big thanks for watching, and that is enough to support the channel. But as I say, if you'd like to go the next step, then be sure to check out some of that merchandise. Thanks for watching, and until next time, get out there and paint some shit. Gunman out.